Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to have you all here. I am going to put myself in the camera right now. And let's see. Da, da, da. Oh, let me take my brand out. I see you. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode. I am so glad to have you all. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Glad to have you on today. Let me get some of my banners out of the way. I kind of worked on a little bit of a setup today, a different setup. So I am trying to see if it will work for me. But I'm so glad to have you all join me as always. I am, let me see, go back to your comments. Hey there, Stephanie. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you joining me every single week. I'm so glad. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Glad to see you always. And Miss Nairobi, thank you so much. We rocked out Nairobi's resume and her LinkedIn, so go check her out. Nairobi Wheeler. Please make sure you check her out, okay? She is, her LinkedIn profile is absolutely awesome. I don't just say that because it was me, but it's awesome. Really, because she's awesome. All right, make sure that you check that out. I do appreciate you all being here with me as always. And as I get everything all set up and wait for a few more people to join. And you know what I always ask you all to do is share the broadcast. So please share with your audience so more people can get on, okay? I love to see you all on here, and I'm going to check over to my LinkedIn people, my LinkedIn peeps. I'm trying to get them on here as well because LinkedIn, I told you all last time that LinkedIn won't allow you to. Okay, let me turn down this. Okay, good. I can see the comments. So I'm so glad to have you all here. Welcome to another episode of the Job Search and Career Management Made Easy show. Today's show is sponsored by my book, You're Hired, 10 Tips to Rock Out Your Interview and Land Your Dream Job, okay? This whole month's theme is all about interviewing, and I'm here to give you some great tips and some great insight, and also to give you encouragement if you've been out there interviewing and it just didn't work for you. We want to make sure that you know why. So today's show, going back over to my banners here, today's topic is aced the interview, but I didn't get the job. What gives? So in order to get that job and land it, we'll talk a little bit about things that sometimes that we are not aware of that could happen in the pursuit of I'm actually trying to get a job. I'm tripping over my words, trying to get a job, and we'll talk about that. But today's show, again, is sponsored by my book, You're Hired, 10 Tips to Land an Interview, to rock out your interview to land your dream job. I am your host, Nicolette Barrett, also known as the Get Hired Strategist, well, where I help you land a job of your dreams and create a career that rocks. I am always honored and blessed when you all show up and join me, and I would love to see some hearts out there. Give me some thumbs up, the hearts and all that kind of stuff. This show focuses on giving you tips on how to make your job search easy, making your career management easy, because again, I not only want you to land your dream job, I want you to be able to keep your dream job and thrive. So that's why this show is called the Job Search and Career Management Show, and it focuses on just helping you do just that. And again, today's topic is ace the interview, but I didn't get the job. I aced it. I know I did well, but why didn't I get the job? What gives? So on today's show, you will learn 3 possibilities on why you possibly did not even get the job. But before we get into that, I want to go over to my short intro, and then we will be right back. And again, as always, please share the broadcast. I'll be right back. And I'm back. All right. So, yes, I know it can be very frustrating and downright, I guess, deflating when you do all of the preparation. You go into the interview and you just know for a fact that you aced it. But for some reason, you still didn't get the job. And it's downright frustrating because you had your heart set on that job. It was the job that you wanted, and you know you did well. You had a really good feeling, but for some reason, it just bewilders you that you weren't actually chosen. And I understand those pain points because, of course, I've been through that before. Because, and especially when you're thinking, have all the skill sets, I have everything that they're asking for. I prepared, I practiced, I did all of the tips and tricks I can do, but they still didn't choose me. So I've been there. I've heard the stories from my clients who've been there, and it is downright heartbreaking and also gut wrenching because you know that was your job. I know it was yours. So therefore, but it's not something to get too overly concerned about because it's not always about you. But and you're not alone in this situation when these things happen. What I want you to know is don't be discouraged because it could be either God is telling you this is not the right job for you, or there may be other signs that this job is not right for you. So just sometimes think of it, well, I was spared. Although I really wanted that job and I didn't get it, I was spared. So don't get down on yourself because a lot of times it's not all about you. And so therefore, I want you to get encouraged and think differently about that. Let me go back to my banners. And so I want you to know, first of all, my first point is not you, it's them. Yep. It's not you. It could be them. And what I mean by that is basically companies hire people on teams to fill different strengths. Different strengths needed to fill in different gaps on an actual team. For example, if there's a team of about 3 people and they need a fourth one, they're looking for someone to fill in an area where they need to make the team stronger. So if they're only going to they're not only looking for you for your technical background, so you may look really, really good on paper, having a technical background, you're, able to communicate and all this kind of stuff in the interview, but they're looking for a strength that that team does not have. Not necessarily what you don't have, but that team. So they're looking at it from a different perspective of not bringing in a candidate. They're looking for the person that can fit in well with this team. So when we're looking at that on the team of 3, there may have been maybe a planner. That's one of the 3. There may have been a technical guru. That's one of the 3. Or there may have been a great collaborator. That's 3. But they need somebody to fill in a gap with a competency that was not there. What if it's the competency of being a great, being great at an analysis, having an analytical mind? So if they're looking for that perspective, even though you may have done well in the interview, you may not have that particular competency that they're looking for to make that team strong. Okay. So it's not about you. It's about what they're actually looking for. A similar analogy could be, a sports team. So let's think about basketball. Now, we have a lot of great basketball players out there, even the ones that get to the draft, right? We just went through the draft, right? And they did it virtually too. How cool is that? Well, anyway, just went through the actual draft. Now, the teams are looking for different players to fill in an actual gap on the team. Somebody who could come in and be strong to fill a missing piece in the team. Now, all of the players on the team play the same game of basketball, right? They all play the same game, but they each have an individual position. So, don't get me to start thinking about the types of position. I think it's a forward and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but there's all different positions on the team, right? So therefore, they're looking for someone to fill in that gap. So think of it as that. So it's really not about you and what your skill set and what you're bringing to the table. So don't be discouraged about that. You may not have been a good fit for that particular team, but guess what? You could be a good fit for another team. And that's what it's all about. So don't get discouraged. So my first point, it's not you, it's them. And it's better to blame them anyway, right? So let's talk about that. So here's another one that's kind of a tough one. You answer questions that they didn't ask. Yeah, now that's tough because now I'm switching it from them back to the onus on maybe us. So these are just possibilities. It could have been, I don't know you personally, but it could have been. But when I'm talking about you as an individual, well, there may be many, many reasons, even zillions of reasons why you did not get chosen. Again, I don't know you personally, or I don't know your personal situation. It could be the fact that sometimes we do over talking or what have you. So the one of the things that I've seen over my 19 plus years of being in corporate leadership for a Fortune 36 company is that people can get into a situation where they become basically too ambitious, too over talking themselves, saying too much, and basically all about them. Me, this, I've done that. Yes, it is about you to a certain extent, but how do you balance that? Are you talking so much to the point that you were basically talking yourself out of the job? And that could happen. Being overly ambitious, overly telling them everything that they possibly don't necessarily need to know, it could just basically weed you right out. So you're answering questions that they didn't ask, and you're giving them sometimes too much information. One of my wonderful clients, unfortunately, in the very first interview she landed with the resume that I created for her, she went in and just basically told them everything that they needed to know where they didn't need to hire her. So they took all of her ideas, all of the information that she provided, and went and did it themselves. And then she said, I think I gave them too much information. I said, yes, you did. Now, mind you, she didn't do the interview prep with me, which I tried to encourage her to do. I said, you have to, it's not just about the resume to get you in the door. You have to know the method of how to sell yourself when you get in the door. And if she would have coached with me before then, we could have walked through some of the scenarios on what she can and should or should not say. So she basically talked herself out of a job. She just so excited about all of her experience, all the things that she's done, and the ways that she can come in and help. And they just start, they ask another question. Well, how would you do that? She gave them everything. I mean, when I say everything, okay, I'm not from the South, but I am living in the South, but I mean everything. She just gave it all. And they did not even hire her. So when she called me, was very upset because she really wanted this job. I said, sounds like you gave them everything that they need, that they can do it themselves now. So don't be overly ambitious and, telling them too much. To slow it down, listen to the question, think of a methodical way on answering that actual question. And it is going to engage your active listening skills to slow it down, to actually listen to what they're asking, so you can just be specific and answering their questions without giving everything. And I can give you some even further tips. If we ever work together, I can go deeper into something like that on how you can do that. So at any time, also, when the interviewer puts their pen down and then there's this glaze over their eyes, it can be the opposite effect. They're not eager to get all your information, run with it, and do it themselves. They're like, okay, you're boring me now. You're telling me too many things. And now I'm not interested in, what you're saying. And anytime that happens, put your pen down and then you're glazing over, then you've lost them in the interview. Although you may feel that you have done well, they may have had a different feeling. So being overly ambitious, overly hyped, or even the opposite can work against you instead of for you. And when working with an actual interview coach, we can help you get through those. Okay. Now, my last and third point is that something that we can't get away from is that they have a prime candidate. Now that's a really tough hill to climb when there's a prime candidate that they're looking at, and then here you are coming to interview for it. And this could be an internal or maybe even an external candidate. And an example is this is that they have somebody that they're basically grooming for that position, for that role, and trying to actually slide them into that role, but they decided to go ahead and interview anyway. They could be in what they call a leadership development role or any kind of development role, developing the skill set of their already internal employee, if it's an internal candidate, because it's cheaper to train up the people within the organization than it is to actually look outside, because then you have to bring somebody in and then get them up to speed. It takes a little bit longer to get them up to speed as opposed to someone that's already in the organization who could probably pick up and go and do the job without much training. So therefore, when they're doing that, those temporary roles, they'll work in there in a temporary situation. And it's a lot of times, sometimes the job is open because somebody got promoted within the organization, which is always a good thing, or they were unfortunately terminated from the job. That's why it's vacant. Or they decided to leave on their own. So therefore, those are the types of things that you can potentially ask, why is the role is open, so that you have an idea of what's going on. And so at some companies, the HR departments require employers, even though that they have a prime candidate, they still require them to interview external candidates or even internal candidates before they make their final decision. And when they're doing that, they're making their final determination based on an actual pool, although they may have one person that's at a higher level already. They're looking at this pool, and then they're interviewing you to see how you stack up against the prime candidate, because sometimes people have one out over the actual prime candidate, and so they can get the job. And if they're not, don't worry about that. So sometimes when you're doing that, the bright side is that you can go into that interview and do so well, even though you don't get the job, you can get your name placed in call for future opportunities. Now, I always talk about that your resume can go in the call pile or the trash pile, but in the interview situation as well, that you've made it in front of them, they've even invested time to actually interview you. You can do so well that you, although they may say, no, I'm not going to hire this person for this role, they can put you in for a future opportunity. So therefore, you still want to be ready. Let me tell you about a case in point about one of my clients. She interviewed for a lower type of position, and she went in and said, you know what, I'm just going to go in and interview. I'm going to do my best. She prepared. She did all of these things, and she had the skill set because she was actually interviewing for something that was lower than what she was qualified for. So she was basically qualified. She wasn't necessarily overly qualified. The role was a good fit, and she really wanted it. And so after the actual interview, she didn't get the job. And she was like, wow, I can't even get a job that's lower than what I wanted. 3 weeks went past, and guess what? They called her back and said, you know what? We see you in a leadership position, the one that she was trying not to get back into, and offered her the job. And she gladly accepted the job. And you never know what is on the opposite end of that interview. And even though you've aced it, doesn't mean that all is lost. It's just that maybe it's just a delayed thing. So again, you still have to bring your A game, make sure that you're prepared. Make sure that you're looking the part, doing all the things that you know you need to do in order to make it to the level of actually interviewing in front of the hiring managers. You just never know. No, what will happen? A no is not always a flat out no. It could be maybe, not yet. Let's see what else is out there. Let's bring this person back and make them an offer for another type of position that maybe they're better suited for. So you always want to do that. So in summary, my tips again, to make sure that it's not about you, it could be about them. So it's not you, it could be them. Being the right fit at the right time is very important and and the focus of the hiring manager at that time. Okay, so it's not about you, it's what their needs are, filling that spot to make that team, that department, or what have you, strong for that moment. And every pool is a different pool. That every candidate that you're competing against is a different pool. So again, it's not about you. Number 2, stay away from answering questions that they didn't ask, giving them too much information to the point that you're talking yourself out of a job. I don't want that to happen to you. Don't talk yourself out of a job. Hey there, Pam. Pam joined us. Hey, don't talk yourself out of a job, okay? I want you to make sure that you're giving the information, engage your active listening skills, and answering the questions in a methodical way such that they get the information that they need, that you're not too sure, but that you're giving them just enough, okay? But not talking yourself out of an actual job. That's what I don't want for you. And then the last but not least, the third tip or third situation that may have happened is the fact that they just have a prime candidate. And again, that's a tough hill to climb. That's a tough road to walk when you're up against an actual prime candidate. But it's not impossible, because again, you can overcome that and still be chosen. Or you can do so well, back to the topic, you ace the interview so well that they call you back for another opportunity. So all is not necessarily lost. So I don't want you to think that. So bring your A game at all times. So all in all, interviewing is a necessary evil in order to land your dream job. We can't get away from it. Yes, there are some jobs that are just given to people, tapped on the shoulder and just say, here it is. But for the majority of us, for the majority of the clients that I work with, you have to interview. And if you're not prepared and being able to answer the questions, understanding the whole dynamics of what could and could not happen in the interview, then you're less likely to even, number one, get beyond the recruiter to get to the actual hiring manager. We want to do that. So, but of course, as always, if you need help, I'm your girl. Reach out to me at irockresumes.com and then click on the button right at the top to the right hand corner that says contact us. Fill out a form, and one of my team members, like Pam, who is my client heart officer, she will reach out to you and talk with you and see how we can help you fulfill your needs in the interviewing space. And then we can get you on the plan to work with you to make sure that you are ready and bringing your ace game. Now, if working one-on-one is not what you want to do right now, but you love group virtual training, guess what? I got something coming up. Yes, I do. I got something coming up. So a virtual group learning where I am going to have an exclusive interview prep workshop that's done virtually and is going to hit on how to use my iRockStar method. Okay. Now my book is out there. You go to my irockresumes.com/books and you can order the ebook version or the autographed copy. I will autograph it and mail it to you, so you can read about how to utilize that iRockStar method. Or you can come to the virtual group training that I'm talk about more next week. And then I'll be teaching you on that. And it will focus not only on the steps to interview and to be at your best in utilizing the iRockStar method, but it's also going to teach you how to interview in a virtual setting, because a lot of people don't know what to do. So we're going to teach you how to do that as well. But more information that's going to be on that next time. Let me see what else. Okay, so let me see. So next week's topic: why the STAR or SAR method does not work on its own. So I want you to join me next week to come back so I can talk about the STAR method and the SAR method and why it's not necessarily something that works on its own, okay? So I know a lot of people talk about the STAR method and the SAR method, and a lot of people utilize that, but there's a different way that you can look at that method to utilize it. So if you're interested in that, please make sure that you join me on next week. And let's see. Again, interview prep workshop details are coming soon. And stay in the know. Join our mailing list at irockresumes.com so you can get the information on the upcoming shows and also links to our older shows as well. So I appreciate you doing that. And let me see. And as always, thank you for joining me again for yet another episode of the Job Search and Career Management Made Easy show. Again, this is Nicolette Barrett. You're also known as the Get Hired Strategist, where I help you and even you land the job of your dreams and create a career that rocks. I sure appreciate you joining me, and make sure that you join me next week. All right. Thank you, Pam. All right. And if you have any questions, always, please put them in the note in the comments area. And if you watch this replay, let me know that you're watching. Put hashtag replay and let me know that you've watched everything for me, okay? You're welcome, Stephanie. I appreciate you. You're quite welcome for giving you the insights. I hope this is helpful because, again, it's not about you. You're welcome, Nairobi. I sure appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I am going to get on out of here because my hubby is barbecuing. Oh, yeah. Bye, y'all. Have a good one. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye.